Hey guys, welcome or welcome back to the channel. My name is Theo. This is Rekindled Reader. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I was just thinking about how I rate books on Goodreads. Not too long ago, I gave a book a 2 stars. And what's crazy is that, first of all, that's pretty rare for me. Second of all, it was trending to be like a 4-star maybe. If the ending was exceptional, it may have pushed it up to a 5-star. That's how invested I was in this book throughout the entire journey. The last quarter of the book and the ending made me so disappointed, and it made me reflect back on some of the inadequacies of the first 3 quarters of the book as well. And I just thought, okay, as a package, I was absolutely let down, and it had so much promise. So I gave it a 2 stars, and so that got me thinking, because I've given out a couple 3 stars recently. I've given out 4s and 5s very recently as well. So it got me thinking about my rating system, and has that changed over time? Have I gotten more lenient with my stars? Have I become more discerning as a reader as I evolve through this reading journey of life? So I was thinking about it. I'm curious what you guys think as well. Let's start from the bottom. 1-star reviews, you're probably not going to see a lot from me, because 1 stars, I know my reading taste well enough to where I'd probably avoid a book that I would consider to be 1 star. And if I do get, through a book and it becomes evident to me that this is trending to be something I don't like, or it's going to be a 1 star, I wouldn't want to rate a book on Goodreads to the detriment of its reputation and the author's effort and all that stuff. I just wouldn't rate it as a 1 star. So I'd probably DNF. I try not to DNF very often, but like I said, chances are I wouldn't pick that book up to begin with. So let's just say from me, 1-star reviews, you're probably not going to see a whole lot of. I know my taste too well, and I would probably bounce on that book way in advance of ever getting a chance to review it as a 1 star. 2 stars, on the other hand, are still very, very rare for me. But like I said, that's what spurred this video. Recently, I gave out a 2 stars, and I thought, holy crap, like I don't give a lot of these out. A 2 star for me is a book that by the end of it, I didn't enjoy. I didn't understand its purpose. I couldn't tell you necessarily what the point of it was. And I bet you in a year from now, I wouldn't necessarily remember what it was about. This is an interesting case because the last 2-star, and again, if you don't know what book I'm talking about, you can follow me in Goodreads. All my links to my socials are down below in the description. But this is a situation where throughout the entirety of the book, I didn't know what I was going to rate it. And it's an interesting situation because the premise was promising. And actually the story and the idea is quite memorable. I will remember the idea behind this story for probably forever. The way that it was executed was so poor. And this is a situation where it's rare because it was trending to be a much stronger book for me, a much more pleasant and enjoyable experience throughout the entirety of the reading of this book. And then it ended up falling flat on its face for me personally, for my taste. So this is a situation where it went from like a 4 or 5 star, potentially, probably 3.5 to 4 stars, and it fell on its face, and I gave it a 2. So I guess what I'm saying is, if a book really doesn't make it to the average, I liked it category, it's going to be a 2 star. My average category and my most common rating is probably going to be between a 3 and a 4. That's actually not true. My most common rating is probably going to be a 4. But what makes a 3-star review? Well, a 3-star review is a book that I enjoyed well enough. And this is also very interesting because I recently read a 3-star review, or I gave a recent book a 3-star rating, where it wasn't really objectively all that good, but I relied on my enjoyment and my interest in the lore of the book and what might happen next in the series. And so a 3-star is going to be a pretty average, I liked it well enough rating. I may recommend it, I may not. I definitely probably wouldn't read it again. But what makes a 3-star for me is either objectively it was pretty good, or something saved it in the case of the book that I'm talking about. And again, if you're curious about what that is, you might be able to determine what that is on my Goodreads. But basically, this book was filled with plot conveniences and, quite honestly, subpar writing in a lot of it, flat characters in certain instances. But my enjoyment, so this was trending to be like a 1.5 to maybe like 2.5 stars, the way that I was describing it to myself, right? This book was trending to be like a 2-star book for most of it, I would say. But it was punctuated by moments of interest and intrigue and curiosity, and once in a while, a beautifully written passage. At the end of it, I think what saved it was my overall enjoyment. So I balance my ratings with what I perceive to be its quality. And again, I do believe that art is subjective. So it's hard to point at something and say that is bad, because, you know, one man's trash is another man's treasure and all that stuff. But there are things, particularly in the written medium, where you can point to and say that isn't great, or those two things shouldn't go together, or, you know, it's just a poor choice of maybe how a certain thing was handled. So that I can, you know, the quality, call it objective, subjective, whatever, quality, I tend to balance out with my enjoyment, my interest, my desire to pick up potentially the next book in a series or another book by that author. In this case, it was very much the latter. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I was talking to my friends while I was buddy reading it with them. You know, I had fun doing it that way. I listened to a combination of the ebook and a graphic audio, so that was kind of fun. So my enjoyment by the end of it, what is the word that I'm looking for? Lifted it up to a 3-star, where it probably, the way that I was describing things, the notes I was taking, the problems I was seeing, would have probably made it a 2-star in any other case. My most common rating by far is going to be a 4-star, because I know what I like. I get good recommendations from people like you. And for the most part, I enjoy the ride. I sit back, I relax, I enjoy a story for what it is. And I typically know my genres, I know my authors, I know the books that I like. And when I do take a chance, it's based on very thoughtful recommendations from my friends. So a 4-star, you're going to see all over the map for my Goodreads and my personal taste. I give a lot of 4-stars out. And a 4-star to me is a great book. I enjoyed it. I would potentially reread it in the right context for the right reasons. I had a good time with it. I could point to its quality and say, overall, I think that was well done. It tried to do, like, it delivered on what it tried to do. And I had a good time reading it. So my enjoyment was there. Also, the quality was pretty good. Potentially, it's part of a series where, you know, my enjoyment also is changed by the package as a whole. So there are a couple books I gave a 4-star because they're in the middle of a series, and, you know, maybe they weren't as good, but because I'm enjoying the series and it's a good installment, maybe it will get a 4-star. But a 4-star, I will give a book a 4-star for a lot of reasons. And there's got to be a few things that bother me or maybe didn't land well for me to keep it a 3-star. 4-star, you're going to see a lot from me. Now, this is where things change a little bit, because before, you know, I've evolved as a reader, and the last time I thought about my ratings, you know, since then, I've read a lot more books and I have a lot more things to compare. And I bet you my system is going to adapt and change as life moves on and as I grow as a reader and read more books. But I think I'm probably going to end up giving far fewer 5-stars as things progress, because 5 stars I'm starting to reserve for my favorites. I'm starting to reserve for books that I would absolutely reread again if I had the time. And I'm also reserving them for books that I thought were exceptionally well done and that leave an impact and that make me think, and that I continue to reminisce about having read that book, having spent time with those characters, potentially some memorable quotes and beautiful passages and maybe evocative, you know, parts of the story, things that drew emotion out of me, right? These are things that I think about, that I reminisce, that I try to recreate if I were to reread it again, books that I wish I could reread for the first time. These are going to get 5 stars for me. Now, Goodreads sucks. So every now and then I'm going to round up a book from a 4 to a 5 or a 4.5 to a 5 because I feel like, you know, it just deserves it because, you know, it didn't do everything that I wanted, but I had such a good time that, again, it outweighs any minor gaps, and I'll just round it up to a 5. But if you see a actual 5-star rating from me going forward, I'm hoping to be able to have the discipline to reserve those for like the best of the best, in my opinion. Again, we may not align on what we consider 5 stars, but for me, I'm going to reserve 5 stars for being like some of my favorite books of all time. So 4 stars, you're gonna see a lot from me. And 5 stars, I'm reserving for the best of the best. And I bet you, if I continue to listen to recommendations from my friends, from viewers, from whoever, and adhere to my tastes and my genres and all that kind of stuff, I bet you I'm gonna probably land more often than not between 4 and 5 stars. And if I can get that down, if I can read most books that are gonna end up being between 4 and 5 stars for me, I think that's a huge win. Every now and then we try and experiment, we try and deviate, we try and break out of the comfort zone. Sometimes we're disappointed. So that's kind of it. Just a quick video to think about how I rate books. Do you guys follow a similar system? Do you have a similar system? I know that there are a lot of other platforms out there. There's Storygraph, there's whatever. Goodreads is by no means the end all and be all when it comes to ratings, but I know that you guys understand the Goodreads system. And when I talk about stars and all that kind of stuff, it's a very common way to rate books. So that's why I'm kind of just dealing with that. But yeah, do you guys agree? Do you guys rate books differently? Do you give 5 stars out like Oprah would? Let me know in the comments. Let me know if I'm wrong. And who knows, maybe you'll start to see a lot more 2 and 3 star books from me on Goodreads because I start to break out of my comfort zone more and more and more, to the detriment of my reading journey. Who knows? Anyway, just a quick video, quick thought update, and I'll catch you all on the next video.